When you're working, do you feel worried and do you hurry to get things done? And do you constantly feel stress and worry because of that? If you want to know how I deal with that, tune in and I'll explain it.
You are listening to the Prosperous Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosperous Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. I often say that worry equals hurry, or hurry equals worry, or hurrying is worrying. And it's something that I think a lot of ambitious people struggle with, and it's something that certainly has been an issue in my life for much of my life. And it's something that, I've dealt with, and then I've quote, conquered it, and I've moved beyond it in certain ways by one, understanding that it takes a long time to get something done. And so trying to understand that my great idea is not going to become, a mechanical functioning reality in 3 days, because it just takes a long time. Everything takes so much more time to get done than I originally think in my head. And so the more I learn and the more I want to grow and the more things I want to implement, it's exciting. It's very intoxicating to sit there and envision, I'm going to put this marketing plan in place. I'm going to shoot all these videos. I'm going to do these Q&A videos. Then I'm going to create a schema for artificial intelligence searches, and I'm going to add keywords for SEO, and I'm going to put all this in place, and this is going to change everything. And all of that can be true, but the issue is that then you say you go to a seminar, or you read a book, or you take an online course, and the information is there. And it's very exciting. And certainly the people selling it to you make you more excited because they give you examples of people that have implemented this and how it's changed those people's lives, and you can do it too. And it's changed their businesses, and they give examples of that. And I certainly do that too. And I love the marketing and stuff for Prosperous Law. We explain that, you're living over here and it's bad, and you want to live over here where it's good, and we can show you how to do that. The problem sometimes comes in where you got too many good ideas. And I've been in coaching programs and seminars and stuff where the term that people use is drinking from a fire hose. And you can be sitting in a room for 2 or 3 days listening to, successful, brilliant people, and each one of the speakers solved this little sliver of life, and then this one's talking about what they did to change these practices, these law firms, or their own businesses, and then the next one gets up just as enthusiastic, talks about, this little sliver of process, and how, this changes everything, and this is the key to growth. And then, you take a 20-minute break, and the next one comes in more enthusiastic, more excited than the last one, talk about how this is the key to success, and go and doing a deep dive. And, when you get back to your office, do all these things, and your life will suddenly change. And so there's just one after another. And so, we're sitting there, if you're like me or like everyone, we're sitting there, we're excited. We can envision this. Now we understand this is the process, and we're sitting there frantically taking notes and filling up a small notebook of all these great ideas. And then you go back to your office and you get back in the whirlwind, and people are asking you questions, the phone's ringing, this client's not happy about something, this client doesn't understand something, this person that works for you is out sick, this other person that works for you is having an issue with a coworker, and so all this stuff is just coming to you. And so that all those great ideas, are just sinking down like into the bottom of a river or lake. Okay, they're still there. They're still good ideas, but how do you, what levers do you have to pull? What do you have to do to change that? And so many times what happens, and this still happens to me to some extent, so I block some time to work on something. So realistically, I may need to put in, 25 hours of my time in this to get it where it's a functioning, mechanically operating system done by others. But it's a tremendous deep dive for me, and there's a lot of time and basically thinking time, where as I look at it one way, I should just do it this way. And so, I think I have attention deficit. I'm not diagnosed, but I know that I have trouble focusing on something because my mind jumps around. So I start thinking, all right, I need to get started. I need to get moving on this. It literally feels like a race against time. So that's the wrong thing to do, though, is to dive into it and start going down a path without really realizing that there are other people that can do different segments of this and different parts of it. And some of the best advice I ever got was at a mastermind several years ago, where somebody was explaining to me, a group of people were explaining to me how to make this part of a particular business successful. And one of the things they said is slow down. When you do this, slow down, take a step back, take some time, see the big picture before you do more. And I really think that hurry equals worry. And what is worry? Worry is fear. And the fear is something that we all deal with, and fear is this subconscious thing that grips you, especially when you're going through something that you're trying to break through something, and it's called a terror barrier. That's something where you're frozen with fear, and different things cause this. But your subconscious mind plants that fear in you, and it plants it in me as well, so that I'm thinking, I've got to hurry up and get this done, because otherwise I'm not going to be successful. And how do you deal with that? There are a couple of ways that you can do it. One is that, you compartmentalize time blocks, but also some of it is just understanding fear. Tony Robbins calls it, the unconscious mind. Other people call it the subconscious mind. And then, but if you ever listen to Bob Proctor or anybody like that who deal with these things, they say it's insidious as hell. And what happens is that you have to be aware of that. You can't really stop it, but you can notice it creeping in. And the other thing you have to understand is, and this was something that I don't know how I got it in my head, but in this hurry and worry for really 10 years or more, maybe 20 years, I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be a successful lawyer. I wanted to do good work. I wanted my clients to love me. I wanted my peers and the courts and people to respect me. I wanted to be effective. And so what does it take for me to be effective? And what I believed at the time was that me being effective meant me working on a client's file. So let's say I've got, I get about 100 clients a year, and they've all got court dates coming up. You never know what's going to get worked out. You never know what could go to trial. And so I thought that what I should do is get up every day and go to the office and open a file and do the research, and write the defense plan, write the motions, talk to the witnesses, try to track down the witnesses, and make sure that I had a solid defense. And all of that is true. But what I didn't understand, because I went to law school and was a legal professional, what I didn't understand is I also had a business. And it seems remarkable to say that, but I just didn't understand that I also had a business, and that it was a business that needed to run with policies and procedures. It was a business that needed to run with standards. It was a business that needed to run with training. It was a business that needed to run with leverage. It was a business that needed to run with support staff and people who would do all the things that would make the business grow. And so everything that I should have been doing to build a stellar law firm, to build a great law firm, to build a business that I could be proud of, to build the thing that I wanted to be, I was consciously working against it because I thought that everything else was a distraction. I thought that all of the things, managing people, hiring people, firing people, everything that should have been done, I didn't do because I thought it was almost like I thought I was a law clerk, that I didn't own a business or a law firm. I was just a law clerk where I was supposed to go in there and do my casework and my memos and go home. And so the things that grew the business, the things that continue to grow the business, is everything else, everything except working on the client file and creating a system where other people are working on the client file, where other people are worried about those things, where everybody has their own role, and that's going like that. So when you're in a situation where you're going to create, a new strategy, just understand that you have to think longer term. You want to think 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, okay? And what's the real work? If you're in the whirlwind and you're actually doing the casework, the work that has to be done, then in some ways you're trapping yourself because that you're never going to grow. The real work for you as a law firm owner is two things. One, you have to make sure that the clients are being properly represented. That's key. If you're a bad lawyer and you don't show up for court, or you show up unprepared, or you don't know what you're doing, and you took on a case that you weren't qualified to handle, or you took on a case where you didn't have sufficient resources to handle it, then you're a bad lawyer, and that's going to make you unhappy. It's going to make your clients unhappy, and it's going to not be a good life for you. So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you don't do the work. What I'm saying is that if all you do is the work, and you do the work day in and day out, week in and week out, year after year, decade after decade, then you're never going to grow beyond that. And you're going to be frustrated and tired and anxious, which is probably the state that most people are in. It's certainly the state I was in. So how do you carve your way out of that? And the way you carve your way out of it is really counterintuitive, because you have all this stuff to do, and the best way to solve your problem is to pick some times and places where you don't do it, where you're not on the treadmill, you're not running this frantic race against time, you're not hurrying through something. You just go somewhere and create a white space and a space to be peaceful and think. And I've got lawyer members in Prosper Law who are consciously doing this, and they're doing it the same way that I did it, and that was start small. In the beginning, I think I had carved out an hour and a half, one morning a week, because that's all the time I felt like I could spare. That if I was out of my office for 2 hours without constantly answering everybody's questions and constantly calling people back and getting in the urgency of the moment, I thought my whole law firm would just collapse and dry up and blow away. And so it was very challenging to pick that time. Now, where I did it was there was a couple of hotels, a couple of properties in Myrtle Beach. And so I found places because I was trying to change my environment. I was trying to get out of the office because, I have this attention deficit. So every time a phone rings, I hear my people talking to the client and I'm grading what they're saying. And I'm thinking about, well, maybe I should explain to them they could say that better. And so I'm just bouncing from one thing to another. Then I got something I need to get done. And realistically, it's going to take, 3 hours to do it. It's going to take 15 hours to do it, honestly. So I've got 20 minutes to do it. So I'm trying to rush through it. I'm frustrated. It's not working. If you ever read things about Warren Buffett, he always talks about the white space. And you think, here's Warren Buffett, and so what does he do all day? It was a conversation with him and Bill Gates where Gates, who was successful, obviously, thought that his calendar was supposed to be cluttered with events. He thought the more meetings he had, the more efficient he was in meetings, and the more he went from one meeting to the other, then the more successful he would be. And Warren Buffett had explained to him his calendar, and I don't think Buffett was trying to coach him or anything. I think Bill Gates just asked him, what's your calendar look like? And Buffett was like, there's nothing on my calendar. I think he obviously would go speak to people and do different things. He had to run that fund and the company. So he had tasks, but he's specified white space. And so how do you get to white space? You just have to pick a time. You have to pick a time where, you don't have your children running around, where you have to, make another peanut butter sandwich. You don't have your wife telling you or your spouse telling you, you need to take out the trash. You don't need somebody telling you, oh, the check engine light's on in the car. You don't have a paralegal coming in and telling you, oh, this particular client's mad and he or she wants to talk to you right now. So you got to get away from that. And so I recommend get out of your office, go somewhere else, go to a hotel lobby, go to a library, if libraries still exist, maybe even go, to a coffee shop or a Starbucks or something, one of those places where they don't mind if you just sit in there for 2 hours and only buy one coffee. But find your space, look around for your space. And also realize when you're thinking about going and finding your space and thinking about going to your space and trying a space, don't be like me the way I was originally and think that's not working. This is some of the most important work you're going to do. You have to get out of this rat race mindset and into this growth mindset and go back to the way you were, before our education system beat all the dreams out of you. You have to go back to, what do I want to be? How do I want to be? What do I want to do and have? And write down and visualize what you want your law firm to look like. And don't worry about what's possible. Forget about what's possible. Don't limit yourself. Just dream it and write it down and start spending time doing it. And you really will be amazed at what comes out of this. And it seems like about the dumbest advice I could give you. But the issue is, if you don't get out of that whirlwind, if you don't put yourself in another place physically, emotionally, and mentally, you lose clarity. Certainly in this digital age, we spend very little time thinking. We spend all our time reacting. And information is important, but it's not the answer. The answer is your perspective. I saw these quotes from Albert Einstein where they were talking about, questions journalists ask him, how did you become such a genius? Why do you think you're a genius? Why do you think you're able to solve problems that others have never been able to solve? And Einstein said, I don't think I'm really that much smarter than everyone else, which is kind of a remarkable statement, right? But then we've all seen these IQ things where it says, and I don't know if they even had IQ tests when Einstein was there. Maybe they did. But they compared, Marilyn Monroe's IQ to Einstein's, and I don't know if this is true or bullshit, but the idea is that he didn't have a IQ that was, 5 times higher than everyone else. But his answer was, he said, I think I just spend more time with the problem, which really what he means is more time looking at the physical laws and the solution and understanding what's true or false. He just spends more time with it. So if you got your law practice, you're doing okay, you're busy as hell, how much time are you spending on the future? How much white space do you have? How much ability do you have to sit there and envision where you want to go so that you can start to see the roadmap and the ways to get there? If you're not doing that, then nothing changes. Your law firm is not going to magically sprout up and grow into this wonderful, well-oiled machine. It's the time away in another space, in another time, thinking about what you want and where you want to go. If you don't do that, don't expect anything to change. And if it's difficult for you to even carve out that much time, it's like that thing I read which said, if you don't have 20 minutes a day to meditate, then you need to meditate for an hour. Because the hurry equals worry is simply just fear controlling your life. Fear won't solve your problems. Fear will keep you down and keep you stuck. So find that white space, find the place to think, and get out of your zone. Think about your law firm, think about your life, think about what you want to do, and just start to get some clarity. All right, I hope this was helpful. See you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperoutlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.